For our back-to-school coverage this year, I talked with Superintendent Mike Cornell from the Hamburg Central School District about the staffing issues districts across Western New York are facing. Here's our extended interview. Region-wide, what would you say is the biggest issue you're dealing with right now?
So I think it's hard to generalize, right? Because every district has its own context, has its own needs.
Sure.
But I think in general, in areas where we compete with labor in other industries or for labor in other industries, so people who drive, people who clean, people who build, people who do clerical work, we're competing with every other industry in Western New York for people to do that work. I think those are areas of difficulty. Food service, those are areas of difficulty because if you step all the way back, there's a national labor shortage, right? The workforce participation rate is lower today than it was in 2019. So we are, as an industry, dealing with what other industries are dealing with, which is a labor shortage. So the competition for talent is it's difficult to compete in that environment right now. So I think that's an area. And then I think in particular, certificated areas like youth-based mental health folks, like social workers, psychologists, school counselors, because we're all hiring those folks because we know that we had a crisis of mental health prior to COVID. COVID exacerbated that problem. So now we're also in a fight for talented youth-based or school-based mental health professionals. So those are a couple of areas that I think are areas of difficulty for schools today.
How can a district become more competitive? You look at it when you look at like the substitute rates, they're all about the same. Some districts are a little higher than others. So what are kind of some of the strategies that you're seeing districts use?
I think broadly the point that we can make legitimately is that some of the most amazing work being done in any community is the work being done in that community's schools. That's a fact. We have amazing people doing amazing things with kids, and it is enormously rewarding work. And the benefits you get, monetary, non-monetary, the opportunity to have joy, value, and connection with your colleagues around really important, fulfilling work is something you don't get in all industries. So I think we have some differentiating parts of our work that we can really sell to people who want to do great work in their community.
How can you appeal to people who got out of the industry and are maybe looking to get back in, or people looking for a career change? Because I know a lot of people are looking for that right now, and it sounds like, just like healthcare, this is an industry that you can go into knowing that every day when you go to work, you're going to be helping somebody.
So yeah, the service orientation of people who want to work in schools is something we really want to tap into. And there are local colleges and universities who are trying to ease the path back to education. So Buffalo State has a great program where if you call their teacher certification unit, they will help you either renew your certification or help you understand what you need to take advantage of some of the reciprocity agreements between New York State and other states. So, and as a school district, we want to do whatever we can to help those folks. So if you're at all interested, if you are, maybe you have a lapsed certification, maybe you have a certification in another state, maybe you stopped a couple of classes short of a certification, maybe you took all of the classes and didn't take the tests. Those are all things that we can help with.
Are there differences between urban, suburban, and rural school districts and what their needs are right now?
Yeah, I think every school district has its own unique context and as a result has its own unique needs. So if you talk to the folks in the city of Buffalo or in a smaller city like the city of Lackawanna or Niagara Falls, I think they might have a different set of needs than maybe Hamburg does or Sweet Home does. But the reality of it is everybody has their own context and everybody has their own staffing needs. I mean, retirement from a job in education is much more a function of years of service and age than anything else. So every school district has its own circumstances, including the demographics of their staff. So, we all have a bubble at some point where we're going to have a significant number of retirees either in certified or non-certified areas. So that's different for every school district. So for us, we have one coming up in a couple of years. Lancaster might have one in 5 years. So, but that's all a matter of demographic.
But if you know everybody's experience level and where they're at, you could plan ahead for recruitment efforts because you know you're going to have those spaces to fill at those certain points.
Every district knows and every district plans. That's a topic of conversation among superintendents fairly consistently. We all know when that bubble's coming and we're always planning for it.
How does all of this impact learning in the classroom? Because I know classroom size is something that people going into education look at, and you don't want to see it go past a certain point because you want to make sure kids get the attention they need. So how do general staffing issues in the classroom for teachers and paraprofessionals impact the learning that's happening every day for kids?
I think it's our job as school leaders, as boards of education, to make sure that it doesn't impact the learning of kids. I mean, we have never needed great learning in great schools more than we need it today. And we have amazing teachers and school-based mental health professionals and school administrators and all the support staff who make that happen. We have amazing people. And we want to make sure that we have as many of those people as we need in our schools every single day. And I think, generally speaking, we've been able to find the people. We're turning over a lot more rocks today than maybe we did, 10 years ago.
Sure.
But I think that what parents are going to find and what kids are going to find come September are fully staffed schools with amazing people ready to do the work that kids need us to do for them.
You talked about mental health experts, and those were positions that 10 years ago were being cut, and maybe districts didn't have enough, or they had one person for the whole district. So then you not only have to make sure people are going to school for those things so that they are graduating and getting the experience they need, but you've also got to have the money in the budget to hire them. And I know now, the need, because people are talking about mental health more too, the need was probably there before, is huge. So how do you plan for that, especially after the pandemic when learning was so disrupted?
So there's a couple of layers to that, right? I give you an example. So in 2018, in the Hamburg Central Schools, we decided to train every one of our staff members, no matter what you did, all 650 of us in youth mental health first aid, so that you can recognize the signs and symptoms of anxiety, depression, some of those things, engage the child in just a quick conversation to kind of get a sense for what might be happening in the life of that child, and then do the warm handoff to the school counselor, the social worker, the psychologist, and say, I talked to Michael today, this is what's happening, here's what he told me about what's happening, you might want to see him before the end of the day.
Yeah.
So knowing that we were going to identify more kids who needed more help, we went and hired 2 or 3 additional counselors, another social worker, and 5 years ago, that was a much easier task. Today, if you have to go out in the marketplace and hire 5 counselors or social workers, it's much more difficult. So, we try to encourage more people to go into careers in education. And I think the local colleges and universities, the certification programs, are doing a good job of marketing those programs to young people. And oftentimes I think that some of the best salesmanship that we can do for careers in education are the amazing people doing the work today. I mean, so many of our kids are in contact with amazing teachers, great school principals, amazing social workers and counselors and psychologists who have helped them enormously, that they start to think, my gosh, I would like to do that for a living too. I want to be as helpful to somebody else as this person was for me. So we're starting to see some of that perpetuate in terms of enrollment in some of our certification programs at the local colleges. But we need more of them. I mean, like I said before, some of the most amazing work being done anywhere in Western New York is happening in Western New York schools. And we need great people to keep that work going. And we are seeing more and more people take a look at careers in education. I think that people, generally speaking, people need to appreciate the layers of difficulty associated with filling some of these positions, appreciate the amount of competition that we're dealing with in the marketplace for labor and talent, but most importantly, appreciate the level of sophisticated problem solving that's happening in all of our school districts, the city of Buffalo, all of the suburban and outlying school districts. They all have the unique needs and their unique challenges, and they're working really closely with their teams, with their boards of education to try to solve them. And if there's one thing that we've learned over the course of the last at least 3 years, is that we in schools have gotten pretty good at solving unique and complex problems by being creative, by being open-minded, and by keeping the first thing first, which is making sure kids are well served in our schools every day. So it might require a little bit more patience in September as we work through some challenges that are new with respect to, attracting talent, but people should be patient and appreciate the fact that you've got superintendents and school principals and boards of education working really hard to make sure that we're ready to roll for September, and that we're really excited. Like, we're excited to have a COVID-free, without disruption school year. We haven't had a year absent COVID-related disruption since 2018-19.
Yep.
That was the last year that we haven't had a COVID-related disruption. And I think people should know that we cannot wait to have a great school year with our kids, a full uninterrupted school year with our kids, because they need it. Like, they've lost a lot.
Yeah.
So this year is really all about making sure that every child experiences a significant measure of joy, value, and connection. We took a lot of the fun stuff out even when we returned. We didn't do sports and clubs and all that stuff. We need to make sure they feel valued at the time that they spend in school and feel valued as people and as learners. And we want them to be connected to the learning, to their teachers, to their classmates, to the curriculum, to the literature, so that they want to come back every single day and have a great day at school.